Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our fourth keynote speaker for the RPIC is Professor Angel Lin. Professor Lin's research and teaching focuses on classroom discourse analysis, academic literacies, language across the curriculum, content and language integrated learning, language policy and planning in post-colonial contexts. She has published 6 research books and over 100 research articles and book chapters. Professor Lin serves on the editorial board of a number of international research journals. Professor Lin is right now in Canada, and she will be delivering this speech live on Monday late evening. She will be touching on the topic of integrating critical media literacies and socio-scientific issues across the curriculum towards 21st century pluricultural education. Professor Lin, please.
Hello, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be able to present here. And I know I should say good morning in Singapore. Right now I'm here in evening in Vancouver in Canada. So I should say good evening. It's really a great honor, and I really love Singapore. I've been visiting NIE many times. Okay, without further delay, today my topic is integrating critical media literacy, CML, and socio-scientific issues, SSI, across the curriculum. And I'll be presenting our ongoing project, which is funded by the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council of Canada. And it is a project partnering with 2 school districts and also 3 universities. So I'd like to give full credit to my research team members, Dr. Steve Marshall, Dr. Sean Choney. Steve is like me, and educational applied linguist, and also in the multilingual, multicultural education. Dr. Sean Choney is my colleague in math education. And Dr. Dawn Wiseman is science colleague, science education expert in Bishop's University in Quebec. Dr. Sunny Now is also multilingual, multicultural education specialist in Bishop's University in Quebec, Canada. And Dr. Saskia Van Wegen in York University, Toronto. So you can see that it is a multiple site, multiple university, and multiple school district partnership, and also very much transdisciplinary, bringing together a team of science and math and language education and multicultural education specialists. And last but not least, I want to introduce our PhD students, Eiler, Ade, and Chinghua Chen. They are very important to our research team, since we are also partnering with our emerging researchers. So briefly, the research project is a 3-year funded project with 3 stages. Today, I would just have time to talk about the first stage, but we go with this design-based research cycle, design-based research methodology. That is, in the first stage, in the first year, we are partnering with a small number of teachers, 6 teacher participants, in co-generating ideas, approaches, activities, and materials. And I'm very much in sync with Dr. Quack, Dennis's idea that teachers must have ownership. Teachers must be in dialogic conversation with researchers for any research to have impact, especially education research. And then the second stage, the second year, we will be building a virtual and online research hub, a research portal with interactional functionalities to build up, to scale up, to share the ideas co-generated with teachers to more teachers in the hope to build more teaching communities, sharing ideas, sharing challenges. And then at the same time, we will also be journeying with teacher education students because in our team members, we are all teacher educators. So we will also be sharing the ideas and co-journeying with teacher education students. So you can see that the research project is quite complex in this, but it is underpinned by the idea that any research, education research that could have any impact must be the knowledge and the ideas must be co-generated with teachers, researchers and teachers co-generating, and then we will be scaling up the research generated knowledge for more students and more teacher communities. So I'm going to just introduce the first stage of our research project today. I will introduce some key. So the slides I'm using right now is exactly the PowerPoint I have been using with my teacher participants to introduce the first stage of our project to them. So critical media literacies, very quickly, CML is defined as an educational response that extends and expands the traditional notion of literacy, reading, writing, very traditional idea of literacy, to include different forms of mass media, pop culture, and new technologies. It deepens the potential of literacy education to critically analyze the relationships between media and audiences and information and power. And the aim of our project is to support teachers in integrating CML across the curriculum. That is, they need to be able to permeate, infuse what they are doing already with critical media literacies instead of compartmentalizing CML into, say, one lesson or one unit. But in all of that teaching, we need to infuse critical media literacies to foster critical approaches to controversial topics trending in the media, especially social media, digital media. And we also want to leverage on socioscientific issues, teaching the principles. Very importantly, the whole project focus on highlighting frontline teachers' experiences and connecting their experiences with the research literature on CML, as well as emotion, identity, feeling, meaning making, and socio-scientific issues education. So we understand that there are two research traditions, critical media literacies, mainly in education, language education, applied linguistics. And another tradition is called socio-scientific issues education, mainly in STEM education, science and math education. And in our project, we want to bring together these two research traditions to bear upon our work with teachers, because students are constantly engaged in the multi-literacies. It's more than just print media nowadays. Mobile, digital, social media platforms in their everyday lives, and a lot of visual images, a lot of multimedia being used beyond just the traditional print media. And they, at the same time, as we are engaged in more and more what we call socio-scientific issues, SSI. For example, these issues, they will have a scientific basis, like should we have vaccination? What's the nature of pandemic, and also what's the nature of climate change? And these issues, on the one hand, they have a socio-scientific knowledge basis. On the other hand, they're also very much socially, culturally contentious. So, and we see that our students not only need to access a large amount of information, but a lot of time is misinformation or disinformation, but they need to be able to evaluate it. And then much more importantly is also the emotional aspects of this engagement. with these socio-scientific issues. It's not just cognitive, not just knowledge, but also to understand the values, the different socio-cultural values and different emotional commitments attached to different socio-scientific issues with different social groups in society and in our globalized society. So connecting this important aim of enhancing students' capacity is we recognize that it is a part of 21st century skills and competencies, but we also recognize it's beyond. So we hope to enhance students' ability, meaning knowledge and skills, to be discerning citizens and consumers and interpreters of information. This is highlighting the cognitive aspects, but at the same time, we feel very important that it's also important to highlight the emotionality, the emotional aspects, the ethical and the values aspects of these kinds of capacities, so that students can go beyond skills and competencies or knowledge, but to develop critical awareness of relationality, mutuality, and our vulnerability in this global village, and also to enhance their intercultural awareness, understanding, and to embrace the value of coexistence with people who are radically different from us in terms of their values and their attitudes and their stances towards important issues. So in the next slide, I will develop how we are doing it in a very small way, but very practical way, working with a small number of teachers, six teacher partners in our British Columbia, our province, British Columbia curriculum in Canada. So, and a note on SSI. SSI education, they are often, as I said earlier, they're often contentious scientific topics that require students to discuss, examine, reflect, debate, and evaluate complicated issues from diverse perspectives of diverse sociocultural groups in our society and in a global village. So integrating SSI issues will have this advantage of stimulating student interest in learning across the disciplines and providing real-life context for learning and applying scientific, math, STEM knowledge and analytical skills in real-world situations and make informed judgments about contentious socio-scientific issues. And some features of SSI education will be inquiry-based, and perspective taking is a very important goal of this kind of education. And also equally important is to enhance students, to build students' capacity to build emotional empathy with people who are radically different from us in their perspectives. And also to consider the ethical aspects of decision-making processes involved in many social and public issues. I mentioned that we need to look at not just print text, but also these days multimedia text, and also on many different platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on, as these are what our students are immersed in. So some of the basic skills and knowledge can be summarized here, like questioning the source of information, becoming aware of unfair comparisons, gathering evidence, cross-checking, becoming alert to confirmation bias, selection bias, and our own emotional attachments to our favorite YouTubers or key opinion leaders, watching out for deep fakes and other synthetic media. So these some of the topics in the repertoire of knowledge and skills that we hope to enhance our students their capacity in. And we need to integrate to what is already in the curriculum, because teachers are busy. They cannot have a different lesson. They need to integrate these ideas, CML, into what they are doing in a regular curriculum. So, for example, the core competencies in the different subject areas in our BC curriculum in Canada that are related to critical media literacies will be creative thinking, evaluating, developing, critical reflective thinking, questioning, investigating. And then in the personal and social areas, social awareness and responsibility, contributing to community, caring for the environment, valuing diversity, recognizing personal values and choices, understanding relationships and cultural context. And also, we need to build this critical awareness that all worldviews shape and inform our understanding of social justice issues. And so embedded in that is asking students to ask ourselves how our upbringing, our value systems, and the media we consume every day shape our view of the world. So in different subject areas, applies design skills and technology like digital self-image, citizenship, relationships, and communication. In the science subject area, like impacts of human activity on changing the planet's landscape, climate, and system. In mathematics, how population versus sample, bias, ethics, misleading statistics, and social studies, how the media's influence public perceptions of public major events. And also in this context of Canada, to understand unequal distribution of wealth, food, famine, global poverty, forced and unforced migration, and responses to discrimination in Canada. So we see that a lot of the existing core topics of our curriculum already can be very fertile context for integrating critical media literacies. So now I'm going into this stage one. We've just starting stage one this year, and we have very fortunately, we have invited interested and willing classroom teachers from different school districts who are willing to partner with us. They come from different curriculum areas and teaching different levels, and they can volunteer different topics to work with us. And then the whole project aims at learning from frontline teachers existing strategies and co-developing, co-journeying with teachers. Now, by now, I have been talking a lot about this project. I think I can very much resonate with Dr. Dennis Quack's keynote just now. He mentioned for research to have an impact, we must partner with teachers in a kind of dialogic conversation. I mean, those researchers publishing research in those arcane journals in arcane language, I see that there is a burgeoning literature on critical media literacies and social scientific issues teaching, but the research literature between the literature and teachers' actual practical experience, I could see the gap. And so our project is very much situated with this idea that we must partner with teachers. Education researchers like myself and my colleagues must partner with teachers, and then all the knowledge and not just knowledge, but practical experience co-generated with teachers can be systematically disseminated to more teachers. But the origin of this knowledge must be coming from this partnership, this dialogic partnership. So this is what we ask teachers to do, because teachers are so busy everywhere in Canada, in Singapore, in Asia, everywhere teachers are so busy. So luckily we have got 6 teacher partners who are willing to work with us and we allow them to be very flexible. They can use online platforms, Google Doc forms. They can choose whatever time to start, to stop, or to suspend, so that they don't feel pressurized. And then they can choose whatever topics, whatever areas, whatever levels that they want to try out, integrating CML into their regular teaching. So doing this very much, very intensive, okay, but intensive, but also at the same time very dialogic partnership. We hope to bring the research literature to the teachers, but at the same time also renovate the literature with teachers' practical classroom experience to generate a form of teacher actionable, teacher validated knowledge, practical knowledge and experience that we can systematically disseminate to more teachers. Because teachers like to listen to teachers. They don't like to listen to us researchers. But our role is to build this partnership with teachers, because teachers are busy. There are pockets of teacher expertise which cannot be systematically harvested and disseminated to more teachers. So this is the main idea of our project. So the collaborative framework will be, we have an information section. We have already finished that, and we have invited 6 teacher partners we are very lucky. They are from different levels and from different subject areas, with science and math, and also language arts teachers. And then they will work with us in a very dialogic way. They will tell us what they want us to support them with. Like, for example, a teacher teaching French immersion just told us that he would like us to help him because teacher's so busy. He has this idea of developing a mini unit of work to teach the neutral gender in the French language. So, but he also wants to use this neutral gender. It's not just teaching the grammar of the neutral gender, but to incorporate, to integrate this idea of inclusive language regarding people with different sexual orientations, so that we can be a society with citizens who are more inclusive, who are less discriminatory. So our research team is now very busy working on developing this French language unit of work, teaching a neutral gender, but integrating this idea of having inclusive language towards people, diverse people with non-binary gender orientations, because we are so used to binary gender terms, female or male. But using this unit of work, we can co-generate critical media literacies and integrate it into what will be otherwise just a grammar lesson or just a French language lesson. So after we have developed the material, we will float the PowerPoint, the teaching materials, activity ideas to the teacher, and the teacher will select some ideas to try it out and give us feedback, and then we go back to the drawing board to redesign. So it's like a design-based cycle. So in this way, it is very dialogic. It is very much co-developing the materials, the activities, and the ideas of how to integrate CML into what they are doing in their regular curriculum. So it's very collaborative in that we don't believe that researchers will know how to do CML, but at the same time, we also think that teachers can benefit from partnering with researchers in this journey, in this collaborative journey. So, okay, so I think I will show you an example of a socio-scientific issue. So this is a unit of work we have drafted and we have floated to teachers, and then to pick their brain, to get their ideas, and they can select some slides, some ideas to try it out, and then give us feedback. So I already introduced socioscientific issues. I just want to emphasize that it's not just the science knowledge, the STEM education knowledge we want to enhance our students with, but also their emotional capacity to recognize and to consider there is diversity and there are deep emotional commitments of different groups towards different issues in our society. So, for example, we use this topic of zoos because it's already a topic in the regular curriculum in the science area of our middle school curriculum. So this is what the unit looks like. We would have a video and we will ask students to think about some questions before watching the video about captivated animals. And then showing them this, and then having some discussion questions about the video. And then they will discuss their ideas after about will zoos protect endangered species? So this is one argument for the advantages of zoos. And also showing them different examples coming from examples from all over the world and also Canada. But then also introducing them to multiple diverse views. So some views will be more akin to, okay, we have advantages, but some views will be more akin to, the advantages do not outweigh the disadvantages. So it's not binary, yes or no, but always multiple considerations. It's very easy to frame our teachers, right? We use yes, no question, right? So we have zoos or yes or no. But now we want to disrupt this binary because there were so many multiple perspectives and it's never binary. So, and then we teach some basic skills and knowledge about graph literacy, math literacy, and about how they can...
Most performances.
Yeah, so, and also some basic skills and knowledge, how to do reliability check of information sources that they found on the internet, and heightening their awareness of false tweets, and also how statistics can be manipulated to create misinformation and disinformation. So yeah, so, and then self-reflection. So this is one unit of work we created and we floated to our teaching partners, and they can select, they can choose, they can change, and they can give us feedback. They can ask us to give them more resources so that in a partnering way, because teachers are busy, we have more time, our research team, we support teachers to co-develop, co-trial, and then co-design and redesign the activities and materials for integrating CML in their regular teaching. Another example is another teacher partner told us that she wants to have a unit of work about how to do Google search in a smart way, in a critical way, but she doesn't have the time to develop. She has the idea, so she gave us the idea. We developed this unit of work and we gave this unit of work to her, and then she chose one or two slides to try out. She adapted them for the class. It's an elementary grade 3 class. Students are just about 9-year-olds. And then we just yesterday the teacher emailed us with wonderful results, saying that her grade 3 students loved what she did with them, and said something like she's blown away. So the students were impressed, and you have blown my mind. Boom, I learned so much from a grade 3 student. And she said, I will do slide number 7 with them later. So this flexible way of partnering with teacher, we give them more than they need. They can choose, they can select, they can adapt, they can trial it, and then they can give us feedback. and it's just like co-journeying. They are in the front stage, we're in the backstage, but we are working as a team to generate these teaching ideas, teaching activities, and teaching strategies. So we are very excited co-journeying with teachers. And then we developed another unit, climate change. So yeah, I'm running out of time, right? I'm just want to share with you the excitement we are having because we are co-learning with teachers. I'm just saying that it's a learning experience for our research team, but co-partnering with teachers is such an exciting journey because we have more research knowledge, but teachers have more real classroom practical experience, and co-journeying with teachers, partnering with teachers, like in this project, we can really generate teacher actionable, teacher validated knowledge and approaches and ideas about how to actually implement, how to actually integrate critical media literacies and socio-scientific issue education into our regular curriculum. So I think I will end here. I just want to say I've learned so much from Dr. Dennis Craig's and other keynote speakers' speeches. I think our work is very much cohesive with all the work happening, all the wonderful work happening in Singapore and in different parts of the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Lin, for your presentation, emphasizing the need for critical media literacies in the era of misinformation and falsified information that could have serious impact on societies. There have been questions coming in via the Slido link. We'll highlight for you, Professor, to take. Let me read out the first question. The question reads, thank you for sharing the importance of CML in the curriculum. To what extent can CML be really critical? Would it be determined by national cultural norms of what is acceptable and not acceptable? Very much like what Prof has shared yesterday about deliberations. I will repeat the question. Thank you for sharing the importance of CML in the curriculum. To what extent can CML be really critical? Would it be determined by national or cultural norms of what is acceptable and not acceptable? Very much like what Prof has shared yesterday about deliberations.
This is an extremely, extremely important question, and thank you so much for this, because we just cannot take critical for granted. There are different definitions of criticality, different levels of criticality. So some very commonly accepted levels will be to be able to take perspectives. It's more at the skill and knowledge level, to be able to take into serious consideration different shareholders, different social cultural groups' perspectives. And now, I'm not a relativist, but I'm not also a universalist, okay? So I think what counts as critical must be co-developed by teachers and researchers in their own situated context. So what counts as critical media literacies in Canada would be different in Singapore or different in other societies. But I think we can enter into different deliberations and conversations, and through these conversations, we can work out with teachers and with policymakers and curriculum planners what will be critical, what counts as critical media literacies in their own context. Having said that, I would say there are some commonly accepted principles. And I don't think maybe I'm limited by my exposure. So national cultural norms. So I understand there can be the Cold War, there can be very different cultural and religious views. Still, I believe in some common shared experiences. So I believe in the ability to come up with situated, pragmatic understandings of what counts as critical. And this is such a good question because it turns our own heads onto what counts as intercultural understanding, right? So there cannot be one universal definition of criticality, but at the same time, it is not extreme relativism. So dialogic conversation will always be useful, and teaching and helping students to develop their capacity for entering into dialogic conversations with people coming from very different national and cultural backgrounds with very different ideas of what counts as critical will help in a small way. But this is such an important question. Thank you.
The next question is, what skills should someone who is digitally literate possess? And how can we explain media literacy to a child? I repeat it. What skills should someone who is digitally literate possess? And how can we explain media literacy to a child?
Very good question again. I just now I shared this very exciting email with from one of our teacher partners. She tried it out. She tried out our Google search unit. She just tried out 2 slides. And with her elementary, grade three, I think is 8-year-old, 9-year-old. Is a young child. And the young student can understand how to be a critical information seeker on the internet. So I think it's possible. Now, if you want to ask the concrete details, it has to be worked out with your own teachers in your own context. Of course, the research literature can give you some ideas to start with, but every cultural context, every teaching context, like in Singapore, is different from Canada, is different from other societies. So that's why we need to partner with the teacher to find out how to do it, right, with young learners.
Thank you. I think we still have time for one last one. The question reads, do you see media literacy being an accessible subject on its own, where exposure to information from trusted sources is the only acceptable evidence of learning? I repeat it. Do you see media literacy being an accessible subject on its own, where exposure for information from trusted sources is the only acceptable evidence of learning?
Very practical question. Thanks for this practical question. I think like any other curriculum area, we can broadly differentiate between knowledge, skills, and values, or I would add emotion capacity to empathize, and value orientations. So knowledge and skills are certainly accessible, right? There is a whole discipline of assessment, developing tests or assessment activities. Doesn't need to be a pencil test. It can be more innovative portfolio or action-oriented ways, like script, like drama, like creating a drama, more ways assessing. Okay, assessing. I would say to find out whether students are achieving those knowledge and skills that we hope our curriculum is aiming at, right? Now, value orientations and emotion, you can say emotional intelligence, EI. I would say it's the more emotional aspects. That is, you can cry with people who cry. You can laugh with people who laugh. Even those people can be very different from, we say, cultural, religious, sexual orientation backgrounds. Still, we have some common humanity. We can develop sympathy, empathy, form of emotional understanding, not just cognitive, but emotional understanding. Now, that dimension of difficult to assess traditional assessment methods. You cannot assess that kind of value orientations, emotional empathy. So knowledge skills easier. Emotion, I think it will form a very good direction for future research. For me, I think there are more innovative ways of, but teachers, experienced teachers would know whether their students are developing the kind of emotional empathy, the capacity to empathize, and the kind of value orientation to embrace diversity, even though people coming from very different backgrounds have very different commitments, ethical commitments from us. So yeah, I don't know whether I have, because I know in East Asian societies, assessment is very important. If we cannot develop assessment techniques, then we haven't really done the research project. So maybe the next conference theme should be how to do effective assessment with these very difficult issues, but then challenging, but very important topic.
Thank you, Professor Lin. With that question, we come to the end of this session. As a token of appreciation, we will be sending Professor Lin a copper plaque.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Professor Lin.